Alright, 8.3 is special right triangles. So we're still continuing with right triangles. The difference is here, rather than using Pythagorean theorem, these are special triangles. They have special rules. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through these based on the type of triangle. So the first ones we have here are what are referred to as 45, 45, 90 triangles. So just a quick synopsis of the rule with a 45, 45, 90. So I'm going to draw like this. Now, if it's 45 here, so my angles here are 45, 45, 90, which is also an isosceles right triangle. These are called the legs. We've looked at legs before in some of the other similar proportional notes we've done, but these would both be x. The hypotenuse, which is across from the right angle again, the hypotenuse would be x times the square root of 2. Now, why do we times it? Because we're making it bigger, and remember, the hypotenuse is always the biggest side. So if you're going from the hypotenuse backwards, you do the opposite, which is divide. Okay, so let's take problem number 1 here. 45, 45, 90. Okay, so not that you have to put this, but we would know that this is 45 degrees also. I know the hypotenuse. I'm going to the leg. Therefore, I'm getting smaller because the hypotenuse is always the biggest side. So what do I divide by? If I go back over here, I use the value square root of 2. So I'm going to be dividing by square root of 2. So right here, this would be 6 divided by square root of 2. Now, it says leave your answers as simplified radicals. Here's the problem. You can't leave a square root in a denominator, so there's this thing called rationalizing. And all that means is you multiply the top and the bottom by whatever the square root is. Now, when you do that, that now gives you 6 times square root of 2 on top, and on the bottom you get square root of 4, because 2 times 2 is 4. But you can do square root of 4. Square root of 4 is 2. Well, now 2 will go into 6 3 times. So I'm left with 3 square root of 2. Now, that's a lot of stuff right there. Can be somewhat confusing too. So the good thing is I only had to do that one time. Why? Because since this is a 45, 45, 90, remember I said that's an isosceles. Therefore, whatever n is, m is exactly the same thing. So that would be 3 square root of 2 also. Okay, let's go to problem number 2. Same sort of thing. This is the hypotenuse. I'm wanting to find the leg. Now again, I only have to do it one time. So how do I do it? I'm getting smaller, so I have to divide by square root of 2. So again, I have to rationalize, so I'll multiply by square root of 2 over square root of 2. So then that's going to give me 9 square root of 2 over square root of 4, but the square root of 4 is 2. And here I don't really divide because 2 won't go into 9 evenly. You'd get a decimal. So that is my answer. So that is x, and it is also what you get for y. Okay. What about number 3? Number 3 is a whole lot easier. The reason is I'm actually looking for the hypotenuse. So I got to get bigger. When I make things bigger, I multiply. So this is 9 times square root of 2. What about y? Remember, this is an isosceles triangle. So y is the same thing as the other leg, which is 9. Okay, so that's a 45, 45, 90. Now, the next one here, These are what we refer to as 30, 60, 90. So again, I'm going to come over here. I'm going to draw a triangle. You want to make sure and label your angles, 30, 60, and then 90. So we go from the short leg. This is referred to as the short leg. The reason it's the short leg is because it's across from the smallest angle, and we call it X. This is what we call the long leg. Okay, and it's across from 60. It's long, so it's bigger. So how do we make it bigger? We take X and multiply by the square root of 3. And then the last one, of course, is this one, which is the hypotenuse again, because it's across from the right angle. And to get the hypotenuse, you take the short leg, which is X, and you multiply it by 2. So remember, if you're going from a long leg or the hypotenuse to something else, you're getting smaller, therefore you have to divide. You're always going to go back to this first. You always want to find the short leg first. Okay? So in this case, we want to label our angles in problem 4, so that's 30. Y here is our short leg. 7 here is our long leg. And X is our hypotenuse. Okay. So to go from long to short, I'm getting smaller. What do I divide by? Well, I come back over here in the long leg, I divide by square root of 3. So I have 7 divided by square root of 3. But again, we have to rationalize, so square root of 3, square root of 3. So that gives us 7 square root of 3 over square root of 9, but the square root of 9 is 3. So 7 square root of 3 over 3. That is Y, our short leg. Okay, now I've got to find the hypotenuse. So how do I get the hypotenuse? Always go from the short leg when you're finding something else if you can. So this time to go from short to hypotenuse, I come back over here. X to the hypotenuse, I multiply by 2. So I'm going to take this value right here, and I'm going to multiply that by 2. So I have 7 square root of 3 over 3, and then I've got to multiply that times 2. And if I do that, then I end up with 14 square root of 3 over 3, and that's the hypotenuse. One other thing to note here, you don't always have to go find X first. Okay, again, it always goes back. Find the short leg first if possible. Okay, let's keep going. All right, this case, again, label our angles, so that's 30. So that means Y here is the short leg because it's across from the 30. X is the long leg. And then this is the hypotenuse. Okay, so again, what do you want to find first? You always want to find the short leg first. So how do you get from hypotenuse to the short leg? Well, let's go back over here. When I'm dealing with the hypotenuse, I'm using the value of 2, so I have to divide by 2. I hope you're listening to this and not just watching it, because you got to hear these words. Alright, so I'm going to take 4 square root of 3 over 3, and I'm going to divide that by 2. Well, 2 goes into 4 2 times, so that ends up being 2 square root of 3 over 3. So that is the short leg. Now, how do I get from short leg to the long leg? Well, let's come back over here. Short leg to long leg, I multiply by square root of 3. So what I have to do, I have to take this value right here that I just found, 2, let me write this in blue, okay, 2 square root of 3 over 3 times square root of 3. So that's going to give me 2 square root of 9 over 3. But what is square root of 9? Square root of 9 is 3. So 2 times 3 over 3, the 3's cancel, and I'm left with 2. So 2 is my long leg. Now, one thing you can do is try to type these in and get decimals and make sure they correspond. That the short leg is the smallest number, which was this one. The long leg is the next smallest, and the hypotenuse is the biggest number. Alright, so let's keep going. Label our angles. So again, here's my 30-degree angle. It means this is my short leg. That's my long leg. And here I know the hypotenuse. So again, I want to find the short leg first. So to go from hypotenuse to short leg, let's look up here, hypotenuse to short leg, I've got to divide by 2, because I'm getting smaller. So I'm going to take this to this, so 12 square root of 5 over 5, and divide that by 2. So 2 goes into 12, 6. So that gives me 6 square root of 5 over 5. That's my short leg. Now, how do I go from short to long? So go from here to here. I have to multiply by something. And what is it I multiply by? I multiply by square root of 3. So you multiply the 3 and the 5's here, since they're both under square root, so I get 6 square root of 15 over 5, and that would be my long leg. Alright, one more. Okay, and this is actually the easy case right here, because in this case, I know the short leg. So I want to find the long leg and the hypotenuse. So how do I do that? Well, to go from short to long, I have to multiply. What do I multiply by? I multiply by square root of 3. There's your answer. How do I go from short to hypotenuse? I multiply by 2. Well, if I do that, the 2's cancel, and I end up with 9. And there's the hypotenuse. So a much easier case there. This is a very, 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 very important lesson for you. Okay, so you need to remember these rules. And in fact, I would encourage you to make you a little cheat card that shows these two pictures right here to help you remember the number values to use.